I've had defenders who I've loved playing against more so than goalkeepers I've been worried about. You like what I did there, didn't you? See the transition.
Go on then. Who is it?
Do you know what? I've enjoyed playing against John Terry, and a lot of people will say JT, like he's one of the best. Sorry, Pat. Sorry, mate. You crack on.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.
Over the course of the rest of the season, I thought it'd be a nice little challenge if you three tried to pick the best Premier League era Leeds 11. Right? You up for this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it only seems right to start with strikers, right? Matt, I was going to say, Matt, given who we're working with here, I can't imagine who you're going to nominate, lads, at all.
I'm pretty sure he's playing a two up top.
Better be.
Just saying. Have a look at the ratio, lad. Have a look at the ratios.
Well, one of them's Becchio, so you two are fighting it out here.
Oh, three up top then, is it?
Jermaine, I'll come to you first. What do you think you need to be a good striker?
Confidence. Absolute confidence. And you have to have the ability to create space for yourself as well. Selflessness is a must, and a clinical edge. Not much, just those. So for me, I've always loved playing up front with players that are almost the contrast, the opposite to the type of player that I am. So I've loved playing up front with Luciano Becchio. I've loved playing up front with Trezor Kando. I've loved playing up front with Louis Saha, David Nugent. You know, there's lots of players. Jamie Vardy. Vardy is similar type of player to myself. But the former players that I mentioned, they were the strong guys who like to fight people and pin and set and create space and opportunities for other players to run in behind. They do the horrible work, the dirty work, and you know I reap the rewards for that. And I've always thought that those contrasting styles always worked an absolute treat.
And Pat, would you agree with that in terms of mentality? And also, do you think with strikers, do they seem to have a different kind of mentality to the other players?
Yeah, I think so. I think that in terms when Jermaine said playing as a two, I don't think I've ever played as a two. So I've always, since I've been playing, I've always either played as the one up front or when I was younger got shifted out on the wing. So it's rare now that you get someone
up front with me, mate. I tell you.
Have to go back a few years, but yeah.
There it
is. All Leeds, aren't we? The official Leeds United podcast.
I just want to talk about penalty. I want to ask you about penalties because that must be the loneliest thing that a player can do is step up for a penalty. And I remember talking to Kevin Sinfield, the Leeds Rhinos, when he used to take conversion kicks and he could kick them from anywhere.
Completely different type of penalty, mate.
No, it is. But I'm interested because he used to talk about how when he was in a full stadium in a final or whatever and he had to kick to win it or to tie the game up or whatever, he'd imagine that he was back on the training pitch and everything would melt away and it was just him, the ball and the sticks. And I thought that was a fascinating mentality that he had the ability to do that. And obviously football fans can be a little bit more toxic, a little bit more in your face. When you're when you're on the penalty spot and you're in front of it, it's a massive kick. You know, you're not winning, you're not 4-0 up. It's a massive kick, pressure. Where did you two go to try and score?
Well, normally I have a routine. Just before I put the ball down, I know where I'm going. I know where I'm putting the ball, and the times I've missed actually for Leeds. So one I remember is QPR away. I think it was last season.
Yeah,
I changed my mind as I was running up to the ball. So whenever I've changed my mind, I've missed. So I try and as I'm putting the ball down, I know where I'm going and just try and hit it hard. And if the keeper gets there and I've hit it hard, fair enough. But then if you miss it, like the one at QPR was a P roller. The keeper saved it. I was kicking myself after. Yeah.
And how does the fans affect you? Yeah.
It depends what the score is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends what the score is.
It does. I remember the other one I missed at home, Millwall, when I went down the middle. I actually heard the fans. I could kind of I wasn't nervous before I took it, but as I was walking back from the ball, I could kind of feel like a little bit of tension, and so you shouldn't really feel it, but yeah, it sometimes happens.
We played Spurs in the Cup, and we were 2-1 down, and I think it was the 93rd, 94th minute. I can't remember exactly. And I won a penalty. So I'm standing in front of it. I've got a couple of Spurs fans there, and then the Leeds fans, bang, right in the corner, right next to me as well. Just clearing my mind of everything, taking myself, it's similar to what you said a minute ago, Matty, taking myself back to the training ground, not worrying or thinking about the noise that's going on around me, taking my time, getting my heart rate to relax, breathing deeply, just chilling out. And, you know, you find yourself it's bizarre. It's like the eye of the storm. So in the middle of a storm, it's so calm. You know, as soon as you step outside of that, it's carnage. Whether you score, whether you miss, the carnage will then immerse you and just fill you with random emotions or whatever feelings are going to come next with either scoring or missing. And in that moment, as soon as my foot connected with the ball and it flew into the top corner, it was like a massive eruption of emotions, and the fans going loopy because we're not out of the cup. We're in. We've got another shot at bringing Spurs back to Ellen Road, obviously, and it was literally the last kick of the game as well. That was incredible.
Certainly in the theatre, when it's, you know, you only get one run. It's about exactly that. It's about finding the position where you can allow yourself to let everything else melt away. But that only comes from the preparation that happens beforehand. And if you don't feel confident, if you don't feel ready, if you don't feel prepped enough, you don't know your character enough, that's when these doubts creep in, and suddenly you realise the person sitting on the front row, you hear the sweets rustling, you can hear all this stuff. But if you've done all your prep and you fully are immersed in the role and in the character, then you kind of hit like an autopilot, and everything else disappears, and all your inhibitions go out the window, and you genuinely forget. Everyone else sort of just disappear. You get it's like a tunnel vision. I thought Beck saying there that eye of the storm's really interesting, because it's the same kind of feeling. There's all this carnage going on, and then suddenly just it's gone, and you're in the. I said it in an interview last week. It's what sportsmen call in the zone, and you do get there.
Have you ever had a moment where you've just gone completely blank and almost blagged it and thrown in a couple of lines that you feel would work anyway?
Yeah, that happens. Probably, if you've ever been to the theatre, it probably happened that night.
Really?
Yeah, with the exception of Shakespeare, you know, which is something that has to be, you know, it's in
exact,
you know, it's iambic pentameter, and you've got to keep it to the rhythms. With the exception of that, it's probably happened if you've been to the theatre. It's something that happens because someone's forgotten, and you'll see it on the stage when, like, you might not know. I mean, hopefully you won't notice it, but I've had it where I've missed a line, and I can just suddenly see the fear in the other actor's eyes as they realise that I've missed a line, and then God. Very quickly because you know the material at the back of your hand, and as I say, you're in it, so the response just comes. It's really hard to describe, but I guess as a sportsman you'll get it. It's like a pass you weren't expecting, but you just kind of, your instinct takes over and you just go with it. It happens, and the flicker of fear is gone instantly, and no one in the crowd ever knows the difference. Or it'll happen through crowd participation. The thing is that a player only really takes life once it's in front of a live audience, because you don't know how they're going to react. You know, suddenly there might be something that's incredibly funny that none of you found the joke when you were rehearsing, but the audience find it really funny. And so you have to use that and take a beat or whatever, and of course that can make you laugh sometimes, and you've got to try and work around that. But I will almost guarantee, if you've been to the theatre, you've probably seen something different than what they were planning to do.
Listening on together.
But I'm wondering if there was a goalkeeper or a centre-half, like someone who you just felt was in your head, that whenever you came up against them, you were just like, oh man, this is like, they know me, I'm really struggling every time I play them.
Do you know what? No, not really, because I've had duels with goalkeepers, many a goalkeeper. There's been broken nose and cracked jaws and all sorts. You know, that's the good old days of before VAR, where contact was allowed. You know, I remember I had it wasn't so much I was worried about the goalkeeper being in my head, but it was more the rivalry between the two teams, and we just didn't get on because of that. And it's David Ford, the Millwall goalkeeper. And I remember we were at Ellen Road, we're playing Millwall, and we just won a corner. And I'm standing on the goalkeeper, as I normally did. And out of nowhere, he just came down, just back studs, which were massive. They were like, 2-3 inches long, right on my big toe. Broke my big toe. I didn't know it, but I didn't know it broke my toe at the time. But my initial reaction was to lash out, and I elbowed him right in the jaw, cracked his jaw, got booked for it, and then retrospective action. I got a red card, 5 games, dirty fine. It wasn't nice, but no. In relation to your question, he's just one that I had a running rivalry with up until the latter stages of both of our careers, when we were fine, we were cool with each other. I've had defenders who I've loved playing against more so than goalkeepers I've been worried about. You like what I did there, didn't you? See the transition.
Go on then. Who is it?
Do you know what? I've enjoyed playing against John Terry, and a lot of people will say JT, like he's one of the best. Sorry, Pat. Sorry, mate. You crack on.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.